abortion, Dave Chapelle, and Democrats' deceiving financial plan. Welcome to Brutally Honest Talk Radio. This is Inger, and I have on with me Elmo. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's a bright, sunny day, like Jimmy Cliff said.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And again, for any of us, wherever you're listening to this podcast, we are where you are. Be sure to leave a 5-star review for us. And also be sure to like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the socials. And don't forget to leave a 5-star review for us when you listen to the podcast. And also, we are available on YouTube. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also the notification button so you'll be notified when we upload a new episode.
yeah, everybody. We're both 5-star generals, so 5 stars is appropriate just based on our rank in the conservative podcast industry.
There you go. Good deal. And I guess we should jump right into the abortion fray.
Yeah. That's number one to me. And since the last show, I just noticed that this was in the news a lot, specifically the possible overturning of Roe versus Wade.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they showed a national map, showed a map of the country, and saying that if it did get overturned, what would happen is there's like 25 states about that abortion would be illegal. It would
Mm-hmm.
be illegal. That's including Georgia, Michigan, many other states in the South. This is coming to the forefront now. It's always been a controversial thing. Done some research on it. Didn't know that there were some abortions or a lot of abortions going on before that, right? Just doing
Right.
some research, I saw that there were many in the 60s. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I'm not sure. It was before my time. I don't know how that was able to happen. Before this was, the Supreme Court did this ruling and then made it a green light for the whole country, all 50 states.
Yes.
But the main thing that I wanted to say about this, there's many aspects to the abortion thing. The main thing that I wanted to say is abortion is, and it has been since the law was passed the early 70s, that it is a backup plan or a safety net for people to get pregnant.
Hmm.
Okay. I say people to get pregnant, meaning the woman will get pregnant, but it's, of course, involving the mother and the father of the baby. It is involving them. Women talk about the right to do what they want to do with their bodies. Well, let's back up a little bit. You talk about that, but what about the planning? What
Mm-hmm.
was your mindset and what was your planning going into this, knowing that there was a possibility of getting pregnant? So how could a woman or a girl be so educated about the procedure of getting an abortion and what clinic to go to and how much it costs and how long it takes to heal and all of that, and you're ignorant of what's involved in getting pregnant and the chances of that? So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm basically saying is if you look at the number of pregnancies of single women,
Okay.
number of pregnancies of single women since Roe versus Wade, they jumped way up and jumped way high because this is me talking, this is my theory, is that men and women said, well, this is one of our possibilities of what we can do if the woman gets pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying that to say I am against abortion. Again, I know there are extreme cases. Sometimes a doctor tells a pregnant woman, "You're not in physical condition to give birth.
Mm-hmm.
If you decide to go through with the birth, there's a 50-50 chance that you're going to live, or you may die, the baby may live, or it could be the other way around.
Yeah. Hmm.
All right. So that's the case. And then people are like, well, what about rape? Well, I can tell you that at least 99% of the women who get pregnant were not raped.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. If the pregnancy wasn't consensual, at least the sex was.
Hmm.
All right. So
Hmm.
again, they pull out the Haley's Comet,
Right.
the exception to the rule instead of the rule.
Yes.
And that's the thing. So I am against abortion. If they make abortion illegal and women know that,
Uh-huh.
they will be more careful, they will be more responsible, more involved in birth control, etc.
It's definitely a fallback, like you said. It's a fallback. People, well, we didn't plan properly. But if you go even back further, and I think I was listening to, I know I wasn't listening to him, but he had a promotional piece. It is Rabbi Daniel Lappin or Father Daniel Lappin is one of the guys,
Hmm.
but he's a priest or a rabbi, so he's of the cloth. And he was basically saying, when folks have made sex transactional instead of something that is supposed to be between in within marriage,
Hmm.
then it just makes it, obviously it makes it worse. It leads to all these other issues that society now feels
Yeah,
it has to address with things like abortion because of the way they've made it and what society has done to it. And yeah, and with that, again, if folks are going to do that, then take the proper planning prior to. It's not something that you have to do all the time and oh my gosh, it's got to do this and that sort of thing. No, you can, people teach kids abstinence, adults can abstain too, so
right,
there
right.
there are more solutions than what they're offering. And as I used to be on the board of a pregnancy resource center, and there are lots of stories coming into there and out of there of around lots of situations from young girls all the way to married women who says, I don't want to have the baby, or my husband doesn't want me to have it, all the way to a young girl saying, oh my gosh, this has happened. I don't know what to do, that sort of thing. So it's, there are other alternatives than abortion. And with the Roe versus Wade, it's not overturning it. I don't know why people keep saying that because they've been doing that in the news this whole entire time. All
Hmm.
it will do is return the decision back to the states. So again, America, we're 50 different labs. Just think of us like this. What may work in California may not work in Tennessee, may not work in Maine, may not work in Florida. So each state gets the opportunity to decide how they want to handle that issue. And in regards to the leak, that sort of thing, that is, regardless of which side people land on, the leak should not have happened. It should not have happened because our Supreme Court, that's one thing that they need to be certain of is that I guess this the confidentiality piece, for lack of a better term, to be able to have those discussions and send those communications back and forth amongst each other or draft communications without someone taking it and leaking it out. So whoever did
Absolutely.
that, they need to be held, they need to go to jail. They honestly need to go to jail because what they're doing is tampering with our process. And again, I don't know if someone who is pro life did it or if someone who is pro abortion did it. Don't know. Either way, someone needs to be punished because that is uncalled for and it's flat out wrong.
Do you think
So
that they would be able to find out who the mole is, so to speak, fairly easily?
I would think so because if it got leaked, I don't know if it was an electronic document, like if it got leaked via email, or if someone, made a copy of it and faxed it over, or took pictures of that sort of thing. It seems like that they can figure out who it is. Because I
Yeah.
would think the Supreme Court is, very secure and very folks, know what's going on and that sort of thing. So,
And
um,
probably a limited number of people that would have seen it or gotten access to that.
absolutely a very limited number of people. It's not like regular folks can walk through there and walk through the chambers of the justices, and look
Right.
at stuff and that sort of thing. So,
Like,
yeah.
hey, Judgy Wudgy, I was just taking a shortcut, passing through your chambers. I'm on my way to the break room.
Exactly. That
Yeah,
doesn't happen. So,
right.
yeah, it's uncalled for.
And I agree with what the rabbi was saying. That's a strong and a good foundational thing to say that being out of wedlock or people not being married, having sex, if that were a standard, yes, that would not open the door to these other things
Yeah.
because most of the women that are having abortion or considering abortion, they're not married.
Yes, a lot of them aren't.
Then it becomes a thing, well, I'm single and I would be raising it by myself and I don't want to be inconvenienced, even
Yes.
if for a few months or like jobs have a 6 month, I'm sorry, 6 week maternity leave, and then they actually allow the mother to come back to work. Women are not wanting to do that. I mean, that's wrong anyway. I guess that's one reason why marriage needs to be in place. I wanted my wife to not work for the first year and a half of each of our children.
Mhm.
So the women are saying that they really saying they don't want to be inconvenienced or maybe can't afford to raise the baby. But why not bring it to term and then give up the child if you cannot do that? I haven't heard of a problem of adoption agencies being overcrowded and they don't have room to take any more babies. And also, there's never a problem with a woman being admitted to a hospital to give birth, even if she doesn't have health insurance.
Right.
Let's say she doesn't have a doctor there, and there's been no prenatal care, which is terrible, but she just pops up to the emergency room and her water broke or she's having
Right.
contractions. That is an option. If a woman does get pregnant and she's single and she feels like she can't take care of that baby, that's an option. That's a better option than abortion.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, it's and another thing about the abortion piece is that they're primarily in the minority neighborhoods. I mean, Planned
Yeah,
Parenthood is they're in, and when I say I know we have overseas listeners. When I say minority neighborhoods, I'm talking about the neighborhoods of blacks, Hispanics, that sort of thing, lower income, that sort of thing, neighborhoods.
right.
So they're all in those areas of town, and the just cutting to the chase, Margaret Sanger was a eugenicist. I mean,
Hmm.
she's the founder of Planned Parenthood. She's a eugenicist. So, and so were the Nazis. So if you want to pair her with Nazis, then yes, that's what she is. And
Oh
it was done
yeah, right, right.
specifically, it was done specifically to get rid of the black race and folks that she deemed undesirable. Not just black
I forgot
people.
about
It was
that. Yeah,
people with disabilities. It was people who
yeah,
she didn't deem fit. So that's what Planned Parenthood is about. So,
yeah.
um,
Straight up, like
straight up.
with Hitler and the Nazis in his day, they had these posters that are the size of movie posters that were put up on walls around cities that would show someone with Down syndrome or that was mentally retarded, and would say we need to get rid of these people.
Yes.
So yeah, what you said, you just reminded me of that because when Hillary was running and the thing about Planned Parenthood was coming out, that woman, that information about her, that's when I first learned that as well. And it's a direct connection or direct correlation to the Nazis.
Yes.
And then the last thing I'll say about it is also today they have, now we don't have, but they have the morning after pill.
Yeah.
They didn't have that during my day, but
Mm.
developed in the last 10 or 15 years this pill that a woman can literally take the morning after or within 12 hours of sex. And if conception happens, because conception happens pretty immediately, if
Mhm.
conception happens, then that pill will dissolve whatever has materialized and has begun to form.
Mhm.
So, like if you're planning, if a woman or men are planning to do that, like that's another option, which is again, this is something outside of wedlock, but that's a better option to me also than abortion.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a hot button issue over here. It is very hot button and has been for a long time. And 63 million babies have been aborted since the beginning of Roe v. Wade in 1973, I think, when the Supreme Court passed it. So,
Tremendous.
yeah, we've seen, a lifetime, 50 years, and the radicalness behind it. There are people threatening people's safety, there are
Yeah,
people burning buildings down, that sort of thing, over this particular
yeah,
decision. And again, regardless of which side you land on about this issue, I would hope people would say, no, we don't need to burn buildings down.
yeah.
We
There
don't
was
need
just an
to harm other
attack
people.
within the last few days of an
Right?
of an abortion clinic,
Yeah.
which is really,
Exactly.
really backwards. Like, I want to kill people because they want to kill people. You know,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
that's never the answer. That's
it
never the
never
answer.
never is. In addition to the advancements of technology, and when we were coming up, you didn't have a 3D image of the baby,
Yeah,
in the mom's stomach. Now you have a 3D image. Now you can see when the heart starts beating. You
yeah,
can see the baby put the thumb in the mouth. I mean, you have all this advancement in technology, so you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what you're seeing, so you can't apply 1973 law to, just say 20, 2000 technology. You just can't and still be okay with it.
most of the Democrats are for abortion. They call it pro-choice,
Yes.
and they want the support of the people that are for and support abortion. We're about to get into talking about the Democrats. Just another aspect of it
Hmm.
is I want people to know, and please check this out and research it and look at the history, just going back decades.
Hmm.
The Democrats, they promote themselves as being the party that wants to help people,
Hmm.
including financially, which is false. That is not true. They don't want to help people financially. They want people to be financially dependent and enslaved on the government. I mean, that's where they work. That's who they work for, is the government. Just like a drug dealer wants to get an addict hooked on something. When
Hmm.
that first hit is always free. This
Yes.
this one's on the house. Because after you get used to this, or after you get a taste of it, I'm not worried about you coming back.
Yeah.
Right. So their financial plan, including one example, is the minimum wage and raising it.
Okay. Hmm.
And this has been used as a political football for a long time. Raising the minimum wage is not going to help people. For one thing, that shouldn't be the goal of anyone, is to make the minimum amount that they can make. If you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, if you raised it to $20 an hour, that wouldn't help most of the people that are in financial straits. And the reason is because that's not teaching them money management
Mhm.
and how to handle what they have. We've all heard a fool and his money are soon parted. Okay. It doesn't say poor fools or rich fools, it just says fools.
Mhm.
So if someone is foolish with their money, and we know that there are people who make 80, 90, $100,000 a year that are spending more than they're taking in
Yes. Yep.
and are in an incredible amount of debt. So people need to get with Dave Ramsey's program or
Absolutely.
Clark Howard and learn how to handle what you have and what's
Yes.
coming into your hand. A fool and his money is soon parted. We've heard the thing about give
Mhm.
a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish,
Right.
and then he'll be self-sufficient. But
Ex-
also teach him how to hold on to that fish, that slippery, oily thing. You get a fish as big as a marlin. If you don't know how to handle it, it's going to slip out of your hands.
Yes. Every
So teach him
time.
how to keep that fish, how to hold on to it, and make it last.
Right.
Maybe you want to open a fish market,
Right.
and then you profiting, whatever it costs to go fishing or to acquire the fish, you're making money off of it. Your
Right.
money management, it's a big principle, and that's really the key to wealth.
Mhm. It is, and like you said, yeah, you can, and looking at it from another point of view as well, they're taking the loaf of bread and shoveling the crumbs to you. So it's like, wouldn't you want the loaf of bread yourself? They're
Right.
promising to take care of you. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do that for you, that sort of thing. Well, let's look at it analogous. People have pets, and you have your pet, you give your pet food, you give it water, you give it attention, you give it affection, that sort of thing. But your pet can't go out and decide to start a business. know your
Yeah.
pet can't do all these things because you're giving everything to the pet, and the pet is quote unquote under your thumb. Now, I know people aren't pets, I totally get that, don't need to hear about that, but it's the same thing. It's about the control piece. You have to want to do better for yourself. And it is about behavior. It's about money management. It is about behavior. And I know Dave Ramsey says, "It's not what you make, it's what you keep."
Yeah.
So
Right.
that goes back to you saying, folks make 80, 100, 80, 90, $100,000, six figures in a year. But if they're in seven figures worth of debt, that's not enough to
Yeah.
them. On the flip side, if you have somebody that makes $45,000 a year, but they have zero debt, they're living like a rich person because they don't
Right.
have that debt. So, and we're a capitalist society, so folks should want to go out and do better for themselves. I can't remember the writer. I want to say it was, I don't know if it was Ernest Hemingway or who it was, but he said, folks, something to the effect, folks in America have a certain mindset. They're not poor. They're just, what is it? They're rich but just temporarily poor, something to that effect. So he's
Mhm.
like, yeah, that's the kind of mindset that Americans have. We're just temporarily broke, kind of thing. And because we do have all this opportunity, but the Dems, if they anything they want to give to you, they can take it away just as
Yeah.
quickly. So who wants to depend on that? Who wants to depend on the whims of someone in order to live, in order to eat, that sort of thing? And on the flip
Right.
side, the government, they can't give you anything that they don't first take from someone else.
Yeah.
So it's not the government's money. It's not the Democrats' money. It's another taxpayer's money who worked hard for it. And, they're going to take it away from that person who's working, who's earning it, to give it to someone who doesn't want to work or who doesn't want to earn it. Then that's not a good thing. And we're not talking about people who are disabled or physically cannot
Sure.
work. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who are able to work but who choose not to.
I challenge people, if you can find any Democrats, definitely in Biden's cabinet, Biden, Kamala, or any of his administration or in Congress that talk about making you financially independent,
Mhm.
making it where, whatever you're getting from government assistance, for you to make that yourself or more and not have to
Yes.
depend on a government. Email us at brutehonest.radio@gmail.com if you can name an individual who is telling you that is their plan so that you do not have to get anything from the government.
Right.
So, I'm not talking about like a temporary thing or of a few months getting
Mhm.
government assistance. I'm not talking
Mm.
about that. That's not help. But why would you want somebody to be on government assistance, welfare, what it really is, for 10 years or more? Why
Right.
would you want them to do that? Because the people that we admire and look up to for their finances and their success, they're not on government assistance. They're
Right.
not. If they were, they would have been kept down and held back. It wouldn't be able to give the country or give the world all the great products or services that they have been able to do.
Mhm. Absolutely. We wouldn't know their names.
Yeah. Yeah,
We wouldn't
right,
know their
right. Right,
names.
because capitalism focuses on the individual and individual achievements.
Yes.
Yeah.
And rewarding that. That's right.
Hey, let's bring it home. Wanted to talk about this Dave Chapelle incident. By now, most people are aware that he was at a comedy show with several comedians, and a person in the front row decided to run up on stage and tackle him. All right.
Okay. Mhm.
Now, all the listeners know we didn't give any time to the Chris Rock Will Smith incident.
Right.
This happens 4 or 5 weeks after the Oscars incident.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when that first happened, people were wondering and talking about, are comedians going to start to get attacked now?
Okay.
So let me mention a few things about the Dave Chappelle incident. I mean, it's at a huge theater, the kind of theater that the Oscars used to be at before they had tables,
Okay.
near the
I
front.
knew that. Uh-huh.
Huge, beautiful theater. And this guy who was in the front row, he didn't come from the back. He was already seated in the first or second row, climbs up on stage and runs at Chappelle and grabs him around the waist and knocks him down.
Oh, wow.
Then
Okay.
he gets up, slipping and sliding, and takes off running backstage. And 8 or 9 guys chase him backstage and end up beating the crap out of him,
Oh, wow.
which
Okay.
most of these guys were probably security.
Okay.
So the first thing is the head of security needs to be fired. Okay. Not the whole security team, just the head of security, because
Mhm.
this should have never happened. And two reasons, two aspects of it. First of all, Dave Chappelle is a multi-millionaire.
Mhm.
He's a guy that's coming out in public, doing us a favor, blessing us with his awesome comedy.
Mhm.
And he's been a rich, super successful millionaire ever since the Chappelle show, which
Yes.
was like 20 years ago.
Yes.
So he shouldn't have to deal with that. A guy with his status and his fame, I mean, he didn't come out there with a bodyguard. Maybe comedians need to start doing that. So,
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
not mad at them beating this guy. I mean, I think they overdid it, which the way his face is swollen up and his eye is shut and he's got a cut under there and part of his head is swollen and his arm is twisted, clearly broken.
Mhm.
But they should have, number one, apprehended him, number two, subdued him, which anybody in security, even if you don't have a gun, you should have a pair of cuffs.
Mhm.
all right, and then hold him until the police get there. They beat him so bad he was on a gurney, and they cuffed him to the gurney. Which, when the ambulance got there, they rolled him out on that. I don't know if you saw that picture, but
I didn't see that.
yeah. And this is a transsexual man.
Oh no, I didn't. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. So yeah, because I need to know. So it was a man, a woman who was trying to be a man, was or the
By the
or
tranny's definition of this, I would say someone who was born a woman but is living their lives as a man,
oh
because a transsexual woman is the opposite. That's someone who was born a man.
yeah,
So by
I
that same definition or standard, that's
okay.
what I think. This
Oh,
person is also a rapper, and
goodness.
I've seen a couple clips from her video, and it looks like a man, sounds like a man. Dave
Oh,
Chappelle, he didn't even say any hatred towards trans people. I've never heard him say that. I did hear him make some comments on his
mhm.
Netflix special and on different occasions, but he just mentioned them. Like, these people are so fragile and uncomfortable with themselves that just mention of them can set them off.
Yeah, okay, yes. I'm sorry because I thought it was a man. I just assumed it was just a man
Yeah.
because of what. Oh wow. Okay. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Acting as a man, looking like a man for so long that she probably believes that she is one. That's the main thing. They should have never been able to get to Chappelle. You should have people looking out for that. And then the other thing, this individual had a knife in her pocket,
Oh
right?
wow.
So
Okay.
what if they climbed on stage with blade out and then, came up to Chappelle and hurt him? Then you would have had both of them going to the hospital, and things could have been worse.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So
Wow.
this is something I don't want to see happen. We need comedy. We need comedy in life. We need comedians. It already takes a tremendous amount of courage to go out on stage by yourself, face a lot of people. I mean, hecklers, that used to be the biggest worry. Now that's the least of their worries. Somebody heckling
Yeah,
you, you're getting off easy.
absolutely. Wow.
And then
Wow.
after it happened, Jamey Foxx, he jumped on stage wearing a cowboy hat looking like Django, like, I'm the sheriff in these parts. What the problem is?
Oh, wow.
I mean, I appreciate them, and Chris Rock was there too. Chris Rock came up to the microphone. He said, "Who was that? Will Smith?" You know, so I
Right.
appreciate their support, but y'all are a day late.
Thank you. Exactly. It was a nice job, Chris Rock. Um, okay. I saw the story and first of all, I thought it was just a regular man. Wow, didn't know that. And secondly, I thought the person was a regular man and just attacked him for what he believes and what he's been saying. So that was kind of my line of reasoning. You adding this new information definitely it makes more sense and it has changed my perspective. Again, no one should be attacked for what they believe and what they say. And as a comedian, in our culture, you're supposed to be able to say these things and make light of these things and that sort of thing because you're a comedian. Like they say, what is it, comedians and pastors.
Mhm.
Pastors should be able to say kind of what they need to say and that sort of thing along the moral path. And comedians should be able to say what they want to say, as long as it's moral in terms of not hurting anybody
Yeah,
or not, firing a building or anything. But they should be able to make light of these things, hopefully to cause people to think. And from what I know of Dave Chapelle, I haven't watched many of his shows or anything, but from what I know of him, that is what he does. He says things, definitely not to be mean or anything, but to get people to think. that sort of thing. And as a comedian, it should be okay. I mean, he's a
Yeah,
comedian. This is part of art, this is part of culture, that sort of thing. Um,
right.
so
I mean,
yeah,
if
that's
you're
that's
that
interesting.
sensitive, don't even come out. Don't even
Right.
come out. Stay in your basement or watch stand-up comedy from at home. But you come to a show, especially if you pay for it, you come there and just so sensitive.
Yeah.
So I mean, every comedian, the number one goal is to get laughs. They want it to be
Yes.
funny.
Yes.
And most of what they say is planned. It's an act.
Yes.
And I don't think any comedian wants to intentionally offend people,
No, I
you
don't
know.
think so.
I
Yeah.
mean, me, like, I haven't been to the comedy club in a long time, but I know back in the day in the 90s, like, I've been called out, like,
Yeah.
everything but the spotlight put on me, and comedians talk about me. This is especially like in the black club, if you're sitting
Yes.
within 15 feet of the stage, sometimes I've been asked to come on stage
Mhm.
and was told that I was runner up in I'll Be Sure lookalike contest. And
Oh,
then
good.
everybody laughs. And then, I understand. I get it though. I get it.
Mhm.
I mean, it's at the expense of whatever they say, but they're trying to get laughs. So
Yes.
I don't take it personal. It's not like I see the comedian in the parking lot after the show and he comes up to me and says something off stage that's clearly directed at me. you know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And with that, and like you said, with that, and it happens a lot in the black community, and
Yeah.
I don't like that to happen, period. And my reasoning behind that is the people who are coming to see the comedian, you don't know what they had to do to get there. They obviously are sacrificing part of their money, and they're definitely sacrificing their time when they could be at other places. So
Mhm.
to make light of them and they're in the audience to see, I don't like that piece. That piece I
Yeah, I don't.
do not like at all. But and there's so much other stuff to laugh about and talk about just
Yeah.
in the world till you don't have to make fun or get a cheap laugh at the folks who are there
And
to support you.
they
Mhm.
should have enough material and be
Right.
able to talk about situations or things, should have enough of that even a lot of talking about celebrities or famous people that everybody knows and making fun of them, that
Yeah,
shouldn't be the heart of your act.
exactly. Exactly.
But the last thing I was going to say about this, and I hope there's going to be some changes made, some things done. I mean, Chappelle, he's in the top
Yeah.
best stand-up comedians that are out there.
Yes.
Eddie, he hasn't done stand-up in a long time, but it's almost like Eddie Murphy being attacked on stage. But what this really is an attack on free speech. That's
Yes.
really what this is.
Yes, it is. It truly
And
is.
I want people to have rebuttals and to say, I hate to see anyone that's super sensitive, but you got to fight fire with fire. If nobody is rushing you or trying to tackle you, you shouldn't get physical.
That's true.
And whatever
That's true.
they say, you need to combat that with some say. I guess one good thing that comes out of this is it sends a message to anyone else just thinking about. I mean, they obviously didn't have security at the Oscars, you know.
Obviously. That's right.
Maybe at the front door when you come in, you show a ticket if you pay to get in there, and somebody checks to see if you have a ticket. Or if you're somebody famous, whether you're nominated or not. Hey man, we know who you are. You can go right through.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when something happens, though, when something they obviously weren't prepared, and the rest of the night went by, and Will was nominated and he won like an hour after the incident, and
Yes.
they gave him the award, and nobody other than himself said anything regretting the actions of the night.
Right.
So hopefully this will just send a message, and I'm not just talking about someone famous, but in the local comedy clubs,
Mhm.
uh, comedians, that anyone, someone that's not famous, that if you rush the stage, then you are going to get hurt. I
Yes,
think that's fair. That's a fair message to send.
it is. It is.
So Chappelle was a national treasure. We must protect him at all costs.
Right. Wow. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I actually wanted to make mention of a tweet from Elon Musk. And after mentioning it, ask you what you think about this.
Okay.
So I'm not going to comment on, I'm just going to quote the tweet and then tell me what you think. So
Okay.
this was right about 24 hours ago.
Okay.
And I saw it when it came in. And Elon said, and I quote, "If I die under mysterious circumstances,
Hmm.
it's been nice knowing you." End quote.
Okay.
So
Mm,
have you
and
heard
what would
anything, or has he been involved in anything that would make you think that he may follow the same path as Jeffrey Epstein?
right? Well, he has managed to make a lot of people mad on the left side of the political spectrum. And as we talked earlier, when they don't get their way, they resort to violence, as evidenced by Dave Chapelle and the abortion clinics and all that, or the pro-life clinics and all that sort of stuff. So,
And are you
um,
saying making people mad just from the acquisition of Twitter, or even before that?
I'm saying talk of the acquisition of Twitter, because prior to, they were shouting his praises because of Tesla, and that's an electric vehicle. And also because he wants to go to the moon. I'm sorry, to Mars because of the climate change piece. And from what I've seen, none of those stances from him have changed. He still wants to do that. Now he's gone on and he's purchased Twitter, and he says he's going to make some changes at Twitter. So I think this has been since the Twitter thing. And in
Mhm.
all honesty, and people can look it up on the SEC website, he's been acquiring Twitter stock since January 31st. So it's like, now everybody's upset now. He's been doing this since January 31st. So, for him to say that, uh, I don't know if he's gotten a credible threat or that sort of thing. I imagine he has pretty tight security anyway, which he should. But I think is he's just kind of putting it out there. I hope nobody's going after him. I really don't. But the
Yeah,
the left gets violent when they don't get their way. They get violent. So
this is true.
you know, so he's just kind of putting it out there. And as a side
Yeah.
note, we don't know who's in Jeffrey Epstein's book yet either. Just kind of as a
Oh,
side note, he had that black book, and Ghislaine, I think that's her name,
Jelaine.
Ghislaine Maxwell. You know, there's a whole lot of information about a whole lot of people who were being inappropriate with little children, and none of that's come out. So, yes, I think that's more important to find out what's going on that end, as opposed to him acquiring Twitter. He can buy whatever he wants to. More power to him.
Yeah.
With that, thank you for listening to this episode of Brutally Honest Talk Radio. And as we said before, leave a 5-star review for us wherever you listen to this podcast, and where you are, we are. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit that notification button so you'll be notified of when another episode is uploaded. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the socials. Don't forget to follow us there.
We got cool videos on TikTok. There's another one coming soon. Look out for that. And then, of course, wherever you are listening to us now, you can also hear this show on Spotify, iTunes, and most recently, iHeartRadio.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. We don't take your listenership for granted, and we hope that you have a good week. We'll catch you next time.
Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to Brutally Honest Talk Radio. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, reach out at bruthonestRadio@gmail.com. That's BRUT, honestradio@gmail.com.